Hello and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name is Chuck Wood and I'll be your host. Joined with my co-host is Katrina Zickford. Zickwolf.
Close.
Jesus. You know, I should know this, and the viewers are saying, who's Katrina? Katrina is filling in for Donna this evening, and I can't thank you enough for that.
You got it. Normally I'm the cameraman, so he asked if I could step out in front for a moment and pitch in.
The show is brought to you each and every show. Kat brings it to you. We're just up here. She films it, and I can't believe I just messed up. Anybody that watches this show all the time knows that I butcher names on a regular basis.
The wolf is the important part.
Yes.
Everything else is details.
And Kat, thanks for being here.
Anytime, Chuck.
We're going to have a great night tonight. We have a guest. We're going to be talking Kimberly Jensen. Kim is going to be talking about Camp Lejeune. Anybody that's been watching this show for, it's probably about 5 years ago, I'm thinking. What was it, Ray? We had a gentleman, a veteran, Marine veteran by the name of Ray Buckland?
Yeah, Ray
Buckland. He was on. We have so many guests, I have a hard time keeping track. We had talked about Camp Lejeune. It was a very interesting show, and I tell you, I've had the opportunity, the honor, the pleasure of talking to Kim last week, and this show is going to be very informative and eye-opening, very eye-opening. So let's jump into it.
So Kimberly, welcome. Thank you for coming. And can you just give the viewers a quick history about it? We're seeing all these commercials. Can you kind of give us a little bit of context here, please?
Absolutely. Thanks. Anyone who was stationed at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987 was exposed to toxic chemicals in the water, in the drinking water and the bathing water. And they now have the opportunity, thanks to the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, to sue the government for personal injury or wrongful death. And the law passed into law on August 10th, 2022.
So that's why we're seeing all this outcry and activity, plus social media getting the word out.
I saw it today. I was watching the TV, and
it's ubiquitous now because they want to get that critical mass while get things done. And when did you get involved with this? What got you in here?
I lost my husband August 6, 2022, service-connected lung cancer.
Sorry to hear.
He was a Marine at Camp Lejeune from 1980 to 1984. He was exposed to the height of the benzene exposure, the fuel spill in 1979, and many years later he got cancer, lung cancer. His doctors felt very strongly that it was associated with the water. I fought with the VA for about a year and did get his death service connected.
Excellent.
So I recommend don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep fighting. Do what you got to do to fight for Camp Lejeune, because even if you can sue, you should still try to get your VA benefits, whether you be a veteran or a widow.
Now, you had said 79. That was another spill in 79?
There was, I think it was 30,000 gallons of fuel spilled into the water tables of benzene. And benzene, we know, is highly carcinogenic.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell anybody until later, 90s, 2007, I believe, the Janie Eschminger Act was put into place. It was approximately anywhere from 300 to 2,400 parts per billion of benzene that was in the drinking water and the bathing water. Yeah.
Actually, 79. That's when I was, went into the Navy. And we've had a number of shows in the past about, and we talked about this, Agent Orange. And just like with Agent Orange, it's not biodegradable. It stays there.
It stays there.
Well, there's the derivatives. If you look at the list of the chemicals, which they really kind of ignore, they're only looking at the 4 or 5 chemicals that have the direct path to the diseases.
Yeah.
But if you put the cocktail together of the mercury, the lead, the toluene, 85 of them, the Agent Orange derivatives, DDT. I mean, what do you get? You get poisoned.
I mean, if just a few of the materials are causing problems, you put that whole cocktail together.
And that was my argument to the judge.
It's a nuclear cocktail.
Exactly.
I joined the Army in the 80s, and there was no such thing, material safety data sheet. It was, put this on, dunk it in this, use over this, and, try not to splash it in your face. And, you can rinse your hands in it, too. It'll
Seems
take
as
off
though they just figured you're expendable.
Oh, yes.
Our military.
Sadly enough, yeah. They sit there and say you're just a number, but you're actually less.
No, there's actually saying equipment is accountable, troops are expendable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
How are you involved with what you've done and addressing this issue?
Well, after I lost him, I spent the first year trying to navigate the VA, and I ran across a website called Camp Lejeune Victims, The Faces. There I met a woman named Jill Dilgard. Oh, she was wonderful, and she helped me navigate through everything. She gave me evidence, where to find evidence, research. And then after that, I met Tara, who's in charge, Tara Craver, who's in charge of the website, started the website, call her the champion of Camp Lejeune widows. Jill was a survivor. She was a child of Camp Lejeune. She lost her parents. She lost her sister. So they navigated and helped me. And being that they were so kind to help me, I promised to pay it forward. And with that, I have done awareness campaigns locally with the American Legion. I joined the auxiliary. I've helped our local veterans become aware of Camp Lejeune, because it's amazing how many people before the ads didn't know a thing about it.
No.
And it's disgusting, because this is
Even with the ads, most people out there don't know, because you're watching TV, let's face it, the commercials usually go
you
kitchen
tune
or
them out.
somewhere else. So, I mean, what we're doing here, and I know there's a question later on that we'd like to ask you, what you hope to achieve here. But one thing that we can say now is that by doing this show, it hopefully will bring more awareness.
I want that, exactly. I want to pay it forward. I want people to understand where we're at now with Camp Lejeune, with the lawsuit, with the elective option that the Navy just put out, and the fact that they have a time frame that they have to reach. And if they don't file their administrative claim by August 9th next year, they're out of luck. So they need to file the administrative claim.
That means we have to have you on this show quite often. We got to get the word out. Can you explain the Camp Lejeune, the Justice Act? I'm sitting there trying to look at my notes, and the Justice Act.
The Camp Lejeune Justice Act, which was coupled with the PACT Act. The PACT Act is for toxins, any veterans that were exposed to toxins, but it's completely different. The PACT Act is more for the VA, where the Camp Lejeune Justice Act finally allows Camp Lejeune victims to sue the federal government for personal injury and or wrongful death.
Okay. All right. We were talking, I know we got off track a little bit. One question that was, I got it in my head. You had mentioned children. Just like with Agent Orange, it's passed down from one generation to another because it is not biodegradable. That's correct, right?
That's absolutely correct, but there's no definite scientific evidence to prove that it will pass on genetic defects. There is scientific evidence that they cause birth defects. Obviously, there's the baby graves, where there's hundreds to thousands of babies buried in the cemeteries at Camp Lejeune. They call it baby heaven.
Oh.
And all because of the water. It's very sad. It's a government atrocity. It was hid from people for years. As far as I'm concerned, it's a crime against humanity.
And I think with the Agent Orange, they were experiencing things themselves, the veterans, so they went forward with this. But now they have enough research that they're seeing even their grandchildren are born spina bifida and microcephaly and things like that, or Chiari. And so I think now that there's a huge groundswell, those things will start getting a light shown upon them. So I hope.
One thing with you got the Agent Orange, it took how many decades.
40, 30.
Yeah. So,
We're at 40 now,
Yeah.
Camp Lejeune.
I mean, it's, I mean, obviously when we're dealing with we won't get down that road, but we're dealing with the government.
It's only been about 10 years since the presumptives on the Agent Orange were put in there. So if
Yeah.
you served at that time in any general location, they would presume that the symptoms that you have were connected to it. So you don't have to prove that. They changed the standard some years ago where it used to be you had to be more likely than not that this was caused, and you had to provide dates of service and times and camps and locations and the actual incident number, and nobody has all that.
No.
And then they changed it to as likely as not, and now even that's kind of, they're putting a lot more presumptive ones in there because they're seeing the trend. There's so much commonality between these problems and the symptoms that the people are suffering.
Well, thankfully for Connecticut's own Jerry Wright,
Yes.
who spearheaded it nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get back on track.
Sure. Now, what is the difference between an administrative claim with the Department of the Navy and a lawsuit for personal injury or wrongful death? And should they I assume they should get a lawyer for that attorney.
It's up to them. But the process is you have to file an administrative claim with the Department of Navy to have the opportunity where they can say within 6 months, oh, we'll offer you something or not. What they did with the first group of claims presented, they ignored them for the first 6 months. There was at least 2,500 put in the day the law was passed, and they went right over and submitted it. Unfortunately, that's the first part. If they ignore it, then you have the right to sue. But you have to file your administrative claim before next year, or you will lose out. You won't have the opportunity to sue. And one thing I would advise, if you don't get a lawyer and you want to do this on your own, you can go to the Department of Camp Lejeune Justice Act claims, file the claim form, but there's a spot that says amount of claim. And say, for example, I put down $200,000. And I went and I eventually sued and got in front of a jury, and the jury said, oh, but your husband was worth so much more. The only thing I can get is $200,000. So exorbitant amounts of money, put it on your administrative claim.
Aim high.
Aim very, very high. It's just something that has to happen. But I do recommend getting a lawyer because you're fighting the federal government and they're going to pull out all stops.
Yeah. And not just any lawyer, when it's familiar with
absolutely mass
specialized.
tort
Yeah.
litigation.
Yeah. I mean, that's at the federal level. Even if you're dealing with the state level, I mean, you got to go. You get what you pay for. Now, can you clarify that the VA claims that are separate from the administrative lawsuits cases, even though the VA they tend to, with the Camp Lejeune, they decide I'm trying to say they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
No.
They're not making it easy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And that's what I was trying to say.
With my personal case,
Yeah.
I submitted so much evidence linking my husband's death to his disease to the water.
Yeah.
I was denied. I resubmitted more evidence. I was denied again. Now, with that, I submitted a nexus letter from his oncologist stating, his VA oncologist, stating that this water, more likely than not, was the cause of his cancer. With that, I was denied again. Then I went in front of a judge, presented my evidence, and although I was granted DIC, I was then denied accrued benefits because of a debacle with the form, or personally, I believe no one read all the information that I put there. And then when I finally got my judgment and read my citation, I'm reading it and I'm dying because I had 2 letters from 2 oncologists. They said outside sources, both were VA doctors, oncologists. They said it was an equal amount, and that's why they granted it in equipoise. I had more than I just couldn't believe that these people, this claims reviewer, would actually say that this was equal. It's like he didn't even read my report or my evidence. I'm still stunned about it.
Well, and I would say to anybody putting in claims out there, take a breath, write it down, lower your expectations, and brace for impact, because it is very, very rough. Have somebody that you can lean on for this. There are so many organizations you can call to talk, to lean on for support, because it's kind of a meat grinder to go through the whole process and be denied for things that you're like, but look, it's right here. It's very frustrating, and I can't say too much more about that, but just have a support system in place and don't be disheartened. Please keep going. Eventually, something will come through.
You know, we try not to be negative on this show, but we also want to be honest and truthful.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going to do that right now with a filter. And, you know, they're paid to make it frustrating.
Oh, yes.
They're paid to sit there and throw everything in front of you, so hopefully you quit.
Yes. Appeal.
So when it gets bad out there, just keep going. Don't give up, because eventually they will cave in. But they're going to make you work for it.
Yeah, just presume in your mind, make peace with the fact that the first one's going to get denied. If it doesn't, awesome. If it does, keep trucking. Now, we went over the time constraints on filing and the response to it. So I guess we could ask, what do you hope to accomplish? Couple key points, really, to hit it home.
Don't give up. Continue to file your VA claims. You got to keep fighting, because if this lawsuit doesn't work out, it's not a money grab. It's not easy to get money from this lawsuit. They have to vet out the people that are trying to take advantage. They have to, go through 93,000 cases at the moment. So keep fighting for your VA benefits, because that may be your only recourse at the time, as well as the fact that if you win your VA, it helps your case. Yeah.
I would add to that, keep a log, a very detailed log, the dates, the times, the names, the key points that were covered, any prescriptions, addresses, all those things. Keep it all in a log and make a copy. Have files backed up because it may be a couple years before they come back to you and you won't remember everything. But if you have it there, you can return to it.
And like most of us, we've had laptops and computers that have crashed and all that work that you've done. So make sure there's backups. Before we go any further, is there a Facebook page?
There is. There's many Facebook pages and
contact information, websites.
The websites I don't have unless I would go with Camp Lejeune Victims: The Faces, because that's where I found all my resources. There's another one that's Camp Lejeune Justice Act plaintiff site.
Okay.
And that's where anyone who's filed a Camp Lejeune lawsuit or not, they can get the answers, questions answered. Tons of resources, medical research. Camp Lejeune, toxic water, that's another one. Just Google it and you'll find a plethora of them. But
I wanted to make sure we asked now. We're going to ask again before we close. That way, give the viewers enough time to write it down.
Put it up on the screen so people can read it.
The DOJ.
I think you're on 9 and 10.
Department of Navy. Have they made any settlement offers yet?
Well, they just recently put out an elective offer.
Yeah.
Prior to that, their response was blaming the individuals for not taking the proper precautions of drinking the water.
That was supplied to them.
Yes, that they know nothing about being poisoned. The elective option is out there. It's leaving out approximately 99% of the Camp Lejeune victims. It has a latency period of 35 years, which is an absolute joke because you can't tell a disease when it's going to come.
May I ask, to clarify, you say an elective option. What is
a settlement elective option?
Okay, for those at home, so they'll know.
Yes, where they're offering a settlement to, I believe it's 4 or 5 diseases only. And that's why I said they're leaving out approximately 99% of the Camp Lejeune cases, as well as from the date of when you left Camp Lejeune, it's only to 35 years later. So again, they're leaving out, my husband was a year short from getting his cancer. But he wasn't in that elective option anyway because they are limiting the diseases.
Well, for some people, they just don't have the time to wait for things to play out. They say, I got to get my lump sum and take care of business, because I've lost a couple friends. They're on the downswing on Camp Lejeune.
Now, we've talked about this, and it's going to be a strange question to ask in front of the viewers, but for some people that might think this is just a money grab, how do you respond to that?
Well, if that were the case, they wouldn't have left out 99% of the Camp Lejeune victims, for one. But they do have to vet out the bad from the good. The actual, just because it's very easy to file. If you were there 30 days or more, you can file a lawsuit. But if you don't have a disease, why are you filing a lawsuit? It's not, you have to provide the proof. So it's not easy. You have to associate the diseases with the toxins, and it's not that easy. It's not like an easy, I'm going to get my money. So
now, do they have a sign-up list, like with the burn pits and exposures? They have sign-up lists where you're not claiming an injury yet, but you're putting a government on notice that, hey, I was there, I was exposed.
There is a Camp Lejeune log at the VA on the va.gov, but with that, I would say, if you think you're getting sick, I would file your administrative claim ASAP. If you were there, you don't ever have to file a lawsuit. You can just file the administrative claim. And if you stay healthy, God bless you. For the rest of your life, you don't have to do a thing with it.
Get it on paper.
Just
get it started.
Get it there.
Document it.
Yes.
I mean, that's with anything. I mean, even when you're working with the state, for the state. I mean, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. You start the process. I guess we got one more question, and then we'll jump into the Facebook page and all that again.
We've already covered that one. So, but I'm even at the point with my appeals and claims and things of bringing a recording device with me, because I've had so many times the paper, what their notes do not align with the discussion. And so, not that I'm accusing them of anything, but things are fast and furious, and sometimes the information is dense and intense, and a lot of things can get lost. So I just say, I have an issue, so I need to record this, please, and make it known.
Now that you say that, one thing they are telling, the VA might be telling people, widows, veterans, they ask, do you have a lawsuit pending for Camp Lejeune? Oh, we can't handle your VSO, your veterans case. Though they have been telling people this, and I'm like, that is wrong. Oh, we can't have 2 POAs at the same time. I'm like,
they know what they're doing.
Yeah. So
just
I
like
want people to know,
ago.
if they tell you that, tell them no, and get it in writing.
They've got the deflectors up. Again, names, quotes, specifics.
Dates, times.
Let's go over the Facebook page again and the contact information, website.
And if anybody ever needs help with evidence or anything, they could contact you, and you can email me or whatever.
Absolutely.
But Camp Lejeune Victims, The Faces, and Camp Lejeune Justice Act Plaintiff Site, as well as Camp Lejeune Toxic Water Victims. And you can Google anything with Camp Lejeune on Facebook, and you'll find many other ones. And
so there's no shortage of information or directions that you can turn to get help.
It's unfortunate because every day we lose another Camp Lejeune victim.
That's all the time we have.
And if they get frustrated, call 988. That's the talk line.
I want to thank you. Love to have you back again.
Absolutely.
To give us an update. This is definitely a sensitive topic. Kat, thanks for filling in tonight. Army veteran, thank you for your service. With that being said, To the viewers, thank you for watching another episode of the Veterans Corner. Good night.
Good night.
See you next time.
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lynn.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the cliffs with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.